What's going on, people, and welcome back to the channel. Just going to do a quick match reaction to the game today, the first league game of the new season. Celtic won, St Mirren 0 at Celtic Park. Celtic getting off to a winning start with a 1-0 victory over the pacey side at Parkhead today. Very, very disappointing game. The performance was very poor. I thought Celtic were so poor. They really were. St Mirren were outstanding. St Mirren deserved a draw, I think. Gogic was just immaculate at the back. He was getting in the way of everything. Celtic, so many people today, I know it's the first game of the season, but so many people today just didn't look up for it. Yang and Ida, sorry, they're not Celtic quality. Both of them were horrendous, absolutely awful. Thought they were both poor. Like I said, Gogic was outstanding for St Mirren at the back. Ida gave him no problems whatsoever. And yeah, overall, Celtic were just poor. I didn't think Celtic were good at all. Lack of quality is there. It was a really poor performance. Moving the ball too slowly. Obviously delighted to get the win, which I will get onto. But, you know, Celtic, the lack of pace. Passing wasn't immaculate. People were just lazing about. There was a lot of complaining as well. I think the fans were getting fed up with the way that we were passing the ball. You know, we weren't moving it quickly enough. We weren't really troubling St Mirren, allowing to get them into the space. But yeah, basically the first half, it was all Celtic had a lot of possession. It was easy for St Mirren. It's all in front of them. You know, Celtic weren't getting it behind. They weren't stretching the game. You know, Celtic were playing the ball to feet. It was just very frustrating. You know, very, very poor. You know, Kieran Tierney whipped in a few good balls. I thought Tierney was good in the first half. At least he actually tried to get us into the game. I'll get on to Kieran Tierney because something about him today, you know, him potentially being injured is really annoying me now because I said that when we signed him, you know, and we haven't got another left back in place. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Tierney whipped in a few balls. You know, Adam Eder should have done more with him, but Adam Eder, like I said, he's just not the player Celtic needs. He's just not good enough. Very lazy, doesn't get involved in the game, doesn't look like he wants to be there. Gogic had an easy day today against him. Very, very poor from Adam Eder. The only real chance of the first half came to Benjamin Mirren. You know, Mirren hit one from inside the box. You know, Shamal George with a really good save. It was really unlucky. You know, St Mirren did have a chance. You know, I think it was Mike O'Hara hit one. It was pushed away by Kasper Schmeichel. But that was really it. You know, it was a really dire game from Celtic. It was really poor. Very depressing to watch. You know, that the way we played, it was nowhere near good enough. Second half was basically the same again. Not impressed at all. Same problems, you know, Yang not getting involved. You know, Yang was rightfully taken off. Not good enough for Celtic. Not good enough overall, you know, did nothing. You know, never gave that fullback any trouble. Declan John, you know, never had him beat at any point. You know, it was really poor from Yang. Really was bad. You know, Ida was poor as well. Celtic in the second half hit the post though. You know, hit the post in the bar. In the second half, you know, Hatate hit one and it took a deflection. Wrong-footed George came down, hit George, and hit the post and went out. It was very fortunate that Celtic didn't score there. You know, Shamal George, very fortunate. You know, St Mirren were defending really well. You know, they were blocking the spaces, defending their box very well. Celtic, you know, weren't doing enough in my opinion. Another chance, it was Eder. You know, Eder had a chance. You know, he brings it down in the box. You know, hits one, smashes it against the post. He should have been doing a lot better. That was the only thing he did today, to be honest. He was so poor. You know, we need a new striker. I don't care what anybody says. He's not good enough. For Celtic, he's so poor. He really is. You know, there were so many poor performances today. But him and Yang were just horrendous. Both of them should never play for Celtic again. They're both so poor. James Forrest came on. Luke McGowan came on as well. Celtic did think they got the goal. Is McGregor, you know, ball broke up the pitch. You know, McGregor goes in for a 50-50. bounces back to him, you know, he gets a bit fortuitous, you know, comes down, McGregor hits it from the edge of the box, past Shamal George into the corner. VAR had a look, though. It was the right decision. Unfortunately, it did hit Callum McGregor on the elbow. You know, it was a handball. If St Mirren had scored that, you would want it to go for Celtic. So it was the right decision by VAR. It was a handball, unfortunately, by Callum McGregor, who, again, I didn't think McGregor was good today at all. I didn't think anybody really was good today for Celtic, to be honest, apart from maybe Liam Scales and Kieran Tierney. I thought they didn't do themselves any harm, but everybody else... Carter Vickers was okay as well, but everybody else... The defence was okay, I think. Don't think the defence had much to do, but it was just the attacking players in the midfield. I don't think they were on it at all. Celtic did get the goal in the end. It was from Luke McGowan. It was a really good goal from Luke McGowan. He's been a good signing for Celtic. It was a really good goal, you know, inside the box. You know, Luke McGowan shifts it, hits it, past Jamal George into the corner. It did take a little bit of deflection. It was really harsh on St Mirren, who I think deserved a point, to be honest. I don't think Celtic deserved to win, in my opinion. I don't think we did enough, to be honest. But yeah, that's how it ended. You know, Maida had a chance right at the end, but what a challenge by the defender. You know, he got back. It was a really good ball. You know, Johnson played Maida in. You know, it was a really good pass. You know, Maida should have done more, but it was really good defending by the defender. And that was it. Celtic won 1-0 against St Mirren at Celtic Park in a very unconvincing display. You know, not convinced whatsoever. The boards, you know, need to get players in. You know, this is ridiculous. You know, we need better players than Yang and Ida, for example. You know, they should not be starting. You know, nowhere near good enough, you know. Really was poor. Thought Nygren was quiet today as well. But, you know, there's more to come from Benjamin Nygren. Callum McGregor was poor. You know, Liam Scales done well. You know, Liam Scales, he's not everyone's cup of tea. You know, he shouldn't be starting for Celtic, but it's not his fault. You know, Celtic just not investing properly. But yeah, Celtic got the win. You know, Brendan Rodgers be relieved. He looked very unhappy on the sideline, to be honest. Don't blame him. You know, the way Celtic played was just unacceptable. You know, it was really poor. But then saying that, what's the guy supposed to do? He hasn't got the quality when he's got to rely on Yang, you know, and Ida. They're both not Celtic quality. So, you know, it's not really Brendan Rodgers' fault if they're not good enough. But yeah, Celtic got the win. You know, really tough game next week against Aberdeen at Pittodrie. We need to play a lot better than that, or else we get beat. You know, Aberdeen beat us in the cup final back in May, deservedly so on penalties. You know, Aberdeen should have won the game in normal time, but we know we're by far the better team. Celtic was so poor that day. But yeah, Celtic needs to do more. You know, we need to be up for that game against Aberdeen next week. So it'll be extremely hard going there. You know, Pittodrie is a hard place to go. We need better players in now. You know, the board can't sit around, you know, and not invest. You know, I know we got Pewsley in from Manchester City, which again, I'm not overly convinced about him. You know, come into Celtic, you know, he might be a good player, but I don't think it's right that we're developing another team's player. You know, when he's not going to be with us in the future, it's completely pointless to me. But we need more players attacking wise. You know, we need so many. It was so obvious today where the improvements need to be. But we got the win, you know, thankfully. You know, Rangers dropped points yesterday against Motherwell in a game Motherwell should have won, in my opinion. Rangers were extremely poor as well in their game. We were poor as well today, but we just got that little bit of fortune. You know, St Mirren will be very disappointed. Stephen Robinson's team, you know, they were outstandingly good today defensively. You know, balls into the box, they dealt with everything. But Celtic got away with it. Celtic got a bit lucky today, in my opinion, with the goal. And, you know, it was just fortuitous from Celtic. But that's my reaction to the game. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next one with reaction to the game against Aberdeen. Any more transfer news, I'll let you guys know as well. Take care. See you in the next one. Peace.